Yo, when I spit bars in a rave, man, I go hard like Santan.
Hello, good day, good evening, guten Tag, one and all. It's your boy Speakeraholic. I'm back on hosting duty. Yes, hello, TG TouchlineGunners fam. I hope you guys are well. I know. We have been slack. We actually have like the crew as a collective, but forgive us. We're a group of esteemed gentlemen who are getting old, have a lot of commitments. Work, life, marriage, children, things can be a bit difficult from time to time, but we are making our way back. So just be patient with us as we get into all that good stuff, not just with the regular pods, but as the patrons return as well. Big up all the patrons and thank you for your patience. But the post matches will be returning. We'll probably do some scouting. I think, been seeing a lot of stuff around Alvarez, Yildiz, Buwadi. So yeah, tell us all that good stuff. Put in the comments who you want to speak, who you want to hear from, who you want to see as well. But yeah, no, we will be returning. And we're back today anyway to talk about a few different things. Obviously we're back off a Champions League win at home to Kairat, which concludes our Champions League phase. But we will also take a look back at that blamming we got at the weekend in our backyard, which, boy, I'm not going to lie to you, I don't think my head has been cooked like that since the 3-3 at home to Southampton 3 years ago. I've been in a bad mood for the last 3 days. I can't even lie to you. I've been effing and blinding. I've been in a ruckus. I've been just, yeah. But listen, the only good thing that happens when Arsenal loses is that I hit GMPR. So that's the only silver lining in this. But anyway, I'm digressing and I'm waffling. So with me to talk about all good things Arsenal is the young buck of the group, Dr. Umar's apprentice himself, Mr. Khalil. How are you, sir?
I'm good. You said we're going to be discussing good things about Arsenal. I say we'll be discussing things. They're not all good. This week has been like a week from the deepest terrors of my Arsenal fandom. Man. Like I've been like the way people who have been looking for me, who have never looked for me in their lives, have been looking for me this week to comment on that game on Saturday. Has been disgusting. So
I put a tweet. I think it was on Monday. My phone was blowing up non-stop, bro. I had a guy that I went school with, and he went to jail for some misdemeanors about a decade ago, and I thought he was still in jail. Oh, nah, bro. I didn't even know my man still had my number. On Sunday evening, I get a text just saying, "Yo, my bro, hope you're good. My regards to your family." That was the only thing that was in the message. I was seething. If it wasn't for the fact that our mums were good friends, listen, I might have sent something dangerous back, but such is life. We keep it moving. You got to roll with the punches, in it. You win some, you lose some. But yeah, boy, I've been in the mud the last couple of days. But anyway, before we get to that stuff, Khalil, let's talk about this game against Kairat. Inconsequential game, which led to a 3-2 win. The manager made numerous changes from the game against Man United at the weekend. Not really many surprises. Obviously, Kepa came in, I think, for his first Champions League start. Ben White captained the side. He had Mosquera, Hincapié, Lewis Skelly came back in. Odegaard played with Eze and Havertz as the dual eights ahead, with Martinelli, Madueke, and Gyökeres. So none of that was really a surprise. A lot of those guys didn't. I don't think any of them started at the weekend. So yeah, it's pretty much, yeah. So none of them started. So it's pretty much 11 changes from the game at the weekend, and we started really, really well, actually. Really, really high tempo. We were ahead in just over a minute or 2 minutes. Eze, who, it was interesting today because he was the one who took on a bit more of a deeper role, which isn't obviously where we usually associate him. We like to see him in the final third, picking a lock or taking a shot, but he picked up the ball from a quick free kick, cut the line through to Havertz. He picked up and he hit a really nice through ball straight away. Gyökeres's touch. Boy, it didn't really matter in here. There's no PMP Premier League defenders in Kairat, evidently, and he had enough time to create separation and get his shot off. Good goal, 1-0 up. So yeah, really, really good start. But funnily enough, within a couple of minutes, there was a VAR check after Calafiori held back one of their guys in the box. Can't really argue, you know, he pulled him back. So it was a pen. Obviously, Cala hasn't played in a bit, so there's a bit of rust. So they got a pen, equalised 1-1. But after that, it was a real just onslaught, chance after chance after chance after chance. We went back ahead. Havertz, who obviously taking opposition into account, and we hadn't seen him. I think the commentator said he only played 9 times in the whole of 2025, which is crazy when you think about it. So he's basically not been available for a year. But he looked sharp. He looked sharp as much as you can take the opposition into account, and scored a really, really good goal, cutting in from the right hand side as well. Dynamic. There were some decent bits of him and Gyökeres when he did join. It looked similar to a 4-4-2 at times when they were going up together with it. And then we had some more. Gyökeres, boy, I think we'll get onto it. My man had 5 BCMs this game, which is crazy, absolutely crazy. But it was good to see, albeit opposition into account, that you know, we were able to get off loads of shots, had loads of chances, not just in the first half, across the game period. And we had it was initially ruled out for offside, I think, after a cutback. Gyökeres got a touch and then nearly diverted it in, but it was onside overall. So we went 3-1 up into halftime, even though it probably should have had 5, 6, 7 by the end of that first half. And it continued really after the second half. He made 2 changes at halftime. I think the Kala and Havertz ones, obviously, it looked like they were planned just for them both to play 45 minutes. So they both came off at halftime. Odegaard and Hincapié came off. So, and it kind of continued. I think the second half was a bit sloppier. There wasn't as much. It wasn't as eventful. That said, I think we still saw a lot of clear-cut chances. I think I saw Jesus have a couple. Obviously, had the goal ruled out. Madueke, I don't know where that brother was shooting to, bro. But golly, bro. You see the one from the corner at the end? I said, bro, that guy shanked it all the way back to Barnet, bro. But yeah, we and then we ended up conceding right at the death to make what essentially was probably like a 10-1 game, 3-2, which sounds very
classic
much like
Arsenal, man. We won XG. The reality was XG. A lot different.
I mean, to be fair, we won XG. We won everything. I don't know how we didn't score at least 8 in that game. It was insanity, and you know, bit of a tale of all season where we've been speaking about our forwards' lack of execution, poor execution, and it was similar again today. Everyone could have filled their boots, and it's times like this where I think of guys like Ethan Waneri, who, you know, we saw get off the mark.
Couldn't get a game apparently.
Yeah. Got off the mark for Marseille. I think he would have filled his boots. That's a proper shooter tonight. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. The game was inconsequential. But it is nice to end the group phase. 8 wins out of 8. Top of the Champions League. Obviously, it doesn't really mean anything going into the knockouts. Obviously, it does mean where some teams will have the playoffs in Feb. We don't have a single Champions League game now until March. So where we will join in around the 16 phase. So it'll be interesting. So I guess we don't need to dwell too much because this isn't really the sort of game you have many takeaways from because of the level of opposition. I think I tweeted at halftime as well. I said, I actually think we had harder game against Portsmouth and Port Vale, like in the cup games generally. And I'm not even joking. I think we found those games more difficult than Kairat. You can see why they were rock bottom with 1 point. I think they're like a League One team to me. But even though I've just said there's not really many takeaways, do you have any takeaways? You know, obviously you saw Calabac, Havertz, the main one that we saw back. Anything for you that you'd want to take away from that game?
I mean, it is good to see some of our first teamers return for the business end of the season. A few days ago, there were rumours about Havertz and the structural integrity of his knee. So, you know, as much as I've been a card-carrying Havertz skeptic, I can also very clearly admit that he does bring significant value to this team, especially as an alternative to Gyökeres up front. I'm not too fussed about his operation in midfield. My logic, well, I think the way Arteta was looking at this was you could see how pissed the timeline was already at how we've been playing recently. He thought, you know what, why not just throw Havertz back into midfield? They're already pissed at me anyway. So I'm not expected to see too much of that come the business end of the season. I'm fully expecting him to take either second striker or, 9 responsibilities. But good for him to get a goal back. Really good finish, confident. We
struck it well.
Yeah, struck it very well. Gonna need way more of that. You mentioned Calafiori. He was probably one of our best players in the first half of the season, and went down with injury in that free left back role. So again, good to have him back, even though he's got some bozo moments in him. Is what it is. You take the eccentric with the really good with Calafiori, and hopefully, this is another consistent run of games for him where he's available. Outside of that, I mean, I expected us to win, but at the same time, wasn't putting any value in us winning. I mean, it's Kairat at home. There's nothing riding on this game for them. There's nothing riding on this game for us. Just wanted to get a win, a clean bill of health, maybe some nice goals, which we did manage to get. So, I can't complain too much. I think the real test, as we will probably get into, is how we respond at the weekend and, digesting or how we respond with the serious game after the the United game. So it is good though to say we won eight games in a row. It's no one's ever done it before. I mean, it's only year two of this group stage, but I doubt we'll see 8 straight next season, but we'll see.
And also, it doesn't really mean much because Liverpool topped it last year, right? And they ended up getting PSG. You had to go through the playoffs, and then they got knocked out in the round of last 16. So, yeah, and from some of the teams that it looks like might be in the playoffs as well, it could get quite sticky. I was going to say, I don't really know how it fully works. Do you know who we could get?
Yeah, so this is what I was about to explain. As I understand it, and disclaimer in case I'm incorrect, but as I understand it. The team placed 9th play the team placed 24th, and then the team placed 10th play 23rd, and so on and so forth.
Right. Okay.
A casual glance at the table, I think, had Real Madrid, Inter Milan, Juventus, PSG in like that 9th through to 13th position. So as I understand it, they're not going to be playing each other. They're going to be playing teams that are placed 24 to 20. Right, okay. And the quality of teams that I've seen aren't really high. You're talking about Bournemouth, Glint, you're talking about Marseille, maybe talk about Benfica. If we're being real, over 2 legs, you're expecting the established teams to get their wins. Yeah. And then we move on to the round of 16. So in terms of how the round of 16 is seeded, I would definitely need to go back and check, because I assumed, or I am thinking, that the lowest seeded team ends up facing us. Because I think they've revamped the seeding to make it so there's greater seeding advantage and greater home advantage. But the moral of the story is I don't foresee any huge upsets or big teams taking each other out. Like, for example, we saw maybe last season with City and Madrid, I think it was. They seem to have all bunched up in a reasonable place amongst each other. So I think we won't see any big teams crashing out at this early stage, in my opinion. But, things can change.
Yeah, and I guess when it comes around for us in March, right, you just got to hope. Obviously, the squad is pretty much full health now again, so you just got to hope it's full health when March comes around. I felt good about this group stage generally. I think we've looked really assured. Obviously, the games in Europe have been a lot funner because there's just been a bit more space. Teams have been a lot more willing to play us, which is no surprise that every game has pretty much been fun in Europe for us. Now, some would argue that it's the group stage. You've got 24 points to play for. You don't really need to do a great deal to qualify or at least get through to the playoffs. So there's not real jeopardy. Now that might change, right? When the knockouts come and teams might be a bit more cautious. So it'll be interesting to see. And obviously a 2-legged tie is just, you could just have a bad couple nights and you could be out in it. So it's going to be a lot different. But I feel good about where we are. I think for me, and obviously we're going to get onto this as we talk about the Prem now, it's kind of like I would have liked to have had a healthy lead so that, if we do have a bad result or 2 in the league, it doesn't affect us in the Champions League. But yeah, the way we're moving in the Prem now, it's gonna be really interesting to see how we address all 4 comps. Now, obviously, we have such a big squad, so I think it's kind of essential that we are in all 4 comps to keep players happy, to keep players sequenced, to keep everyone playing. But as we approach the crunch and the mental side of things and the psychological as we enter the home run, be interesting to see what happens there. And it kind of brings me on to United at the weekend. The old enemy. It wasn't a good day. In fact, it was a terrible day. It was by far the worst day this season. And obviously it's worse because we've only lost twice this season prior to Sunday. So that one was by far the worst. It felt the worst. It's never good to lose at home because of who you lost to, but also because of how we played. And it felt like the warning signs had been there for Arsenal for a bit. You know, the results, you know, we still had most of the results, but it didn't look great. It didn't look great, and we suffered as a result for it. And it feels like a lot of the time we've been shooting ourselves in the face recently as well. Even our solid defense seems to have become a bit shaky, a bit rocky recently, been giving away a lot of stuff. So I don't think we need to analyze it the whole game like bar for bar, because there's a couple things I want to look at. But what was your, I guess, main takeaway from that? Bearing in mind, we had 2 draws before that, 2 0-0 draws at home to Liverpool and away to Forest. So that's now 3 games without a win this season. To me, that doesn't stink of someone who's going to win a league title. Now, maybe I'm being a bit too harsh on us, and based on the competition, everyone else has been dropping points. So it's not like we've still been the most consistent. But how do you assess because I want to get onto the state of play generally, but just talk to me about what your thoughts were on Sunday, following the 2 previous draws.
I can't remember being so disgusted in a very long time. Like there's a level of disgust and inner seethe and outer head loss that just all came together at full time. I cannot remember feeling so frustrated about the outcome of the game, and not just the outcome, the performance, the execution, every facet of it. I think it was a perfect storm of every concern we have expressed over the past, I want to say 3 to 4 years since we started challenging for the title. The concerns in relation to, you know, our system, in terms of how we choose to set up, in terms of who occupies the spaces in the forward line, in terms of how quickly we move the ball, in terms of specific individuals and their ability or inability to do certain actions at certain points in the pitch. And then you get into, you know, the question marks regarding the mentality of the team and the manager. I think we've had queries about all the things I've listed at various points, but that game was all of those coming together at the same time. And I think that's what really, really sort of added to the high level of disgust we're all feeling. I think, as you mentioned, you know, 2 games prior, when you don't pick up points, you get a team at home that you've had an excellent record against, despite the fact that they're a rival for a number of years now. They're new manager bounce and all that, but we're supposed to be a quality of team and certain in our play that you kind of avoid the new manager bounce effect. Like, you're supposed to be above this, and we clearly weren't. First half, I think we started okay. Again, we had position high up in the opposition's half. We have that line of 5, you know, outside or in between United's defenders and midfield. But you're looking and you're saying, is there much movement going on in that line of 5? You've got your 2 wingers on the touchline, but your guys taking up the internal spaces. There's been plenty of debate about that. But more than anything, if you're not moving the ball quick enough from side to side, you're not opening up the gaps against the opposition. It's only when you move the ball quick enough that you get gaps opening up that allows players to exploit. And because we're not doing that, we're getting to these situations where we're just watching our attacking line receive the ball, maybe on the edge of the box, but not in super optimum positions, or the ball gets lost, or they're not turning on it and making an action happen. And I think that's been symptomatic of our play for a while. again, we're used to playing low blocks, so it shouldn't be a shock that a team. I'm not saying United came to play low blocks so that they had a threat on the counter, but especially first half, we have possession, but is it threatening? How many times have we said is the possession threatening? We say that all the time, and again, we have possession, but is it turning into clear-cut chances? Part of it is to do with our tactical setup, but part of it is definitely to do with our player execution, which I'm sure we'll get onto in a moment. And the second half, there was a level of head loss that I think, I won't say head loss, I think the players and the manager was rattled. It's not often you see a manager do a quadruple substitution at once, hooking his captain, in order to affect the game. Because I think we actually I don't think we felt the effect of the changes. I don't think we suddenly went onto a higher level of control, nor did we have a higher level of threat, nor did I truly believe that in open play, we were able to create spaces in the middle final third and create good, shooting opportunities. So, yeah, you put that in probably the top 10 of disappointing games in Arteta's reign. It felt that bad, and I think it deserves the relative head loss that we've seen. And then it's United, all that extra stuff. It means more. Half the cast of Mugger tuning in specifically to hear us vent about this, so that's what you get extra annoyed about. But I mean, if you got the marbles, you got the stones, you got to respond. Like I even said, it'll be insane if we lose the title from now. But we've got guys who are auditioning to be in Arkham Asylum. Like I don't know what else you guys are doing here. Like we are in the best position possible. You've had the previous league title winners fall off. You have City, who, although they are dangerous, they're not the City of 18, 19, 20. You've got the optimum squad, excluding the attack issues. You have a good enough and deep enough squad to be able to affect game states in a way that you need to. You had the points lead. You've had the most difficult games away from home under your belt. Everything is set up for you to win. If you don't win, then, blame a cosmic power, blame Arteta. But, at the end of the season, mathematically, logically, emotionally speaking, we should be number one in that league. And if that doesn't happen, then I think there's serious questions to be asked of everyone on the playing side of the football club.
Yeah. So, I've finally calmed down from it now, and this result was probably a palate cleanser, even though we did our best to make this game look close, and we played down to the level of our opponents, evidently. But yeah, how are you feeling overall now? Obviously, Arteta had a press conference where he came out and said, like, they've sort of told everyone to, try to calm the temperature down, take the pressure off a bit, and try to say embrace the challenge rather than it looks like they've got the weight of the world on their shoulders. Now, it's tough, right? Because we haven't won the league in 22 years. So I think when you haven't won the league in so long, getting over that first hurdle, there probably is a psychological element to it. Now, how big or what percentage you want to place on that, I don't know. That's open for interpretation, but I think there probably is. But I think there's things we could do to help us by just purely playing better. I feel like, yeah, we are being extremely cautious, extremely conservative. And I don't know if the pressure of playing in 4 competitions is affecting us, because we have, since that November international, right? We played like non-stop, like back to back every 3 days for like at least 2 months now. It's funny now because I think after next week, in the League Cup semi-final, second leg against Chelsea, we will have a couple 3 weeks in February, which we haven't had, obviously, because we're not in the playoffs or whatever. So what do you buy into a psychological element when it comes to the title race, or just being in our position where we are, because we haven't had a lot of players who have won it and trying to get over the line? How important is that to you? And do you buy into that element? Because I'm not sure where I sit on it in terms of the Carabao Cup can help them, can push them on, or is it just you just think it's overplayed and they can still win even if they don't win the League Cup?
So for me, I think that it's a combination of things. For me, I would say that I'd say the psychological aspect is a huge factor, but it's about how much of a percentage it is. I think for some of us, I probably lead on it being more of a psychological factor than others. I get there's a reluctance to dive into the psychological aspect of things because it feels inherently speculative. You're trying to guess the mind state of the manager, the players. But there is something to be said about trying to achieve something that you've never done before. You naturally will have self-doubts at times. You can have overall belief in your ability, but if it's taken a while, if you've attempted it once and you attempted it again and it hasn't come off, you can still maintain faith in your abilities whilst also naturally having doubts as to, maybe I'm not doing something right, or maybe I'm missing something and whatnot. So for me, this is why I've never been one to dismiss the cups, for example. I think it'll be very valuable if we're able to go on and win the Carabao Cup, just to get the psychological monkey off your back. Like, you're a winner now. You've proven you can go and achieve a trophy for this club. Now, a lot has been spoken about the Emirates atmosphere and whatnot. I think the fans clearly feel that's frustration. I feel the frustration. Like, it's been a very, very long time. So when you see Zubimendi on the edge of his own box decide to give the ball to Brian Mbeumo for no reason, you're going to lose your head because you're thinking, why in the world have we just made this unforced error? This is when you start thinking these must be psychological factors coming into play, because a player of Zubimendi's quality shouldn't be doing something so stupid and so unprovoked in the 35th minute of a first half, in a Premier League game. In terms of how I'm feeling, I am relying on the objective facts in front of me. I already listed the objective facts. We have had, us 3 games aside, we have had an excellent first half of the season. We are quite legitimately in play to win 4 trophies. We're in the semi-final of one. We're in the next round of the other against a championship team. We're top of the league and Champions League. Yeah, it's a lottery, but the point is we put ourselves in a very good position to advance. I hear what Arteta's saying about embracing the pressure. I really hope that that's not him coping. I really hope he actually believes the words that he's saying in that regard, because I think he also understands when he's been asked about his contract situation or whatnot. He has made repeated references to saying, I need to earn my new contract. We need to win. This is the stage of winning. So everyone's aware of what we're trying to achieve. It's about executing. And it's very concerning to have a 3-game slide like this. Do not get me wrong, but we most definitely have the facilities to recover. And this is the time to show it. You got to show and prove. Like I'm saying again, I do believe the psychological is a factor. It just depends on who you speak to and how much a percentage. But for me, I'd say winning the Carling Cup would really help us psychologically. Now, at the end of the season, if we win the Carling Cup and nothing else, is it a successful season? No. But I promise you, if we get to the Carling Cup final and lose, that would have an impact. So in the same way that losing a final would have an impact, I believe winning a final could have an impact. And again, this team has not won anything together. Saliba was in the press the other week talking about, I'm greedy. I want to have my pockets full. The players feel the same way. So I don't understand why fans would then look at those same scenarios and think it's not relevant. It is relevant. Players are hungry. Players that want to win. I think they'll go back to the drawing board. I think we'll see tactical adjustments. I think we'll see players sort of refocusing in terms of their performance. You'll see them, just have that high standard that they had 4 games ago. Not, we were playing just fine up until recently. So a few adjustments here and there, I expect us to be rolling again.
Yeah, and it's not terminal. So whilst I did crash out, like, you've got to also be objective and take a look back, and you're like, we're still in a fantastic position. Everything is far from lost. We could have had a 7+ point lead, but we're still okay. We're still okay. Now we just need to get back on the horse, and you need to put things right. And maybe that is going back to basics, doing, I don't know, maybe change. I'd like to see it changed up a bit. You've got a big squad. I'd like to see a couple personnel changes, potentially, bring a couple people back in. I don't know if that 45 is enough for Havertz to start on Saturday, or if he needs maybe some more minutes off the bench, because it does seem they're very careful. They've been very careful with Havertz, essentially, right? They're very much watching the load that they're putting him under. So yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, I think you're right. I think we're okay. I think things are still good. I'm saying good, like we're top of the Prem. We won the Champions League group phase where we're Wigan at home in the fourth round of the FA Cup. It's probably going to be a harder game than Kairat, so we're probably going to go through still to like the fifth round. We've got a very good chance of reaching the League Cup semi-final next week. So yeah, where things are still very, very positive. But I do think what the best teams do as well. Cool, we've had some bad results now, but can we put another run together? Which is what I think we do. I think if we to put, for example, if you were to put like a run of like 6, 7, 8 wins together in a row, I think you probably extend your lead again in the league. So let's see what happens, especially as Liverpool, City's next 2 games in the league are Spurs and Liverpool away. So there's potential, and I think we have Leeds and Sunderland at home. So if you're smart, how you go about it, things could look. We could be sitting here in a week's time and saying, "Oh, we beat Leeds, we're through to the League Cup final, and we beat Sunderland." Do you know what I mean? So the conversation could be very, very different. Football changes very, very quickly. So, and how we feel changes very, very quickly depending on what happens. So yeah, listen, it's been upsetting. It's been a bad week, but we don't need to lose it all now. Boy, if things change, then yeah, there might be a crash out. But it's okay. We're okay. Yeah. So okay.
At the end, it sounded like you're trying to convince yourself.
Bro, listen. Do you know what it is? Yeah. Do you know what it is? I am trying to convince myself to an extent.
Yeah, I hear it, man.
I've seen this story enough times, so I need to be, like there's only so much false hope I can put in. I need to see the tangible evidence on the table in it. So you man need to prove, the haters wrong. There's the saying is that Arsenal have been proving the haters right for time. So listen, you man need to prove the haters wrong. So yeah, so let's see what happens there. Yeah, I guess so. So we'll see.
Are we going to talk about the captain, or is this a well-trodden conversation?
Yeah, I think we can. If you want to. I've not been. Yeah, okay. Let's put it out there. Yeah, Mr. Odegaard, what's it? Khalil, come to the stage. You have been falsifying and capping on the football pitch for a very long time, my guy. So yeah, he is someone I would like to see dropped. I'll be honest with you, because yeah, I've just not been happy with his performances for a while. And it's just not fundamentally, it's not good enough. And last year I gave him grace because of the injury, whatever, the kid, whatever, you were coming back. But you can't have 2 poor seasons in a row, especially as Arsenal captain. So you need to rise it. I've not been happy. It's a lot about, I do feel like some of our best performances, especially in the autumn, where I just think we had more of a flat double with a 10 higher up. And some will say, oh, there's nothing wrong with a flat midfield. You see PSG's midfield rotating, and I do hear that, but I think the dynamics of Arsenal are different. I've always felt, especially Declan Rice is better in a double pivot, and that's where we've seen his best performances. So, yeah, we have questions. It's because I don't know, based on what I've seen so far, how optimal that midfield three is. When we beat Atletico, Bayern, Spurs, the midfield was Zubimendi, Rice as a pivot as a off the front man. So whether that was Gyökeres or Marino at the time. So and it looked a lot better at the time for me. So it's funny that we've recovered all of the forwards, but we look more impotent offensively. So yeah, and we looked better offensively during that time. So yeah, I think I'd like to sit him down for a couple games. If we're really running a meritocracy where people are being held accountable for performances, I think he should sit down. So what about you?
Yeah, I've probably been on the side of Odegaard's skepticism longer than the average Arsenal fan. I think part of that relates to what I perceive to be his strengths and weaknesses as a creative force, especially in this team. I think previously, Well, when you talk about Odegaard, you say that he's a high touch player. He's a conductor. He has a high pass completion, but he's also able to progress the ball in a semi-productive manner, and is able to find a final pass enough to be a threat in the final third. But for too long, it's been a case where he himself, when he gets the ball, when he's supposed to receive the ball in the final third, he himself isn't a threat. He's not a shooting threat. His final pass isn't a deadly one. And when you talk about the angles of which he receives the ball, oftentimes you're looking for that central space for someone to be occupying between the lines, turning and going. But he has either a tactical instruction or a personal habit in which he finds himself coming outside the block, which slows things down. And it's these very small moments that a quicker turn, a better touch, a quicker action, suddenly there's a bit more space to play with. Instead of the line of five becoming a congested space, suddenly there are spaces open and players can drive into them. And that's just not a him thing. But again, as the captain, as your most tactically important player, the light gets shown a lot brighter when it's you. You know what I mean? As the captain, there's no way you can hide from that. I think if he's going to be playing, I think it really has to be with Eze. And when we signed Eze, there was an expectation that we'd see a lot of Eze as a left winger being inverted or as a midfield partner. And I appreciate that Odegaard was injured a lot in the first half of the season, so we didn't get to see that. But I think now more than ever, if Odegaard is going to be a guaranteed starter, you need to pair a more deadly final third operator with him, because then he can get away with maybe dropping deeper and picking up the ball and advancing in a safer way. But now he's expected to be the lead creator, and he's not showing to have the facilities to do that. And then when you talk about out of possession as well, you notice that I don't feel as if we create as many turnovers from our pressing like we used to. That's not Odegaard's fault, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But when you attribute, Odegaard's strength is out of possession, he leads the press and whatnot, we as a team hasn't been as effective as well. So again, the things that he brings off the ball aren't as, they're not having the same effect like they used to, which again is a team thing. And as I've spoken about in detail now, in terms of the actual threat that he possesses as an individual with the ball at his feet is much reduced. His shooting has fallen off a cliff. We don't see enough of a final pass from him. And again, he's not allowing himself to receive the ball in areas where he can be more dangerous. So yeah, I think either you drop him deeper and have Eze as a 10, or you rotate him out, and let him buck up his ideas. He's a better player than what he's shown, but it's been a while now. And the business end of the season can't be carrying passengers. The PSG 2 legs last season, I think that was the time when I was like, yeah, if you weren't going to show up then you just weren't going to show up that season, you know what I mean? And you had a summer off. I thought you were going to come back refreshed. You had the unfortunate injuries, but again, we can't have too many excuses, And this goes for the rest of our front line as well. Saka, we've spoken about. At least when he's getting the ball to feet, he's doing good actions. It's just not at high enough frequency. You're not getting a G&A. Madueke, we saw him boot the ball to Jupiter earlier this evening. Gyökeres, he's been the most discussed person possibly in group history. So I appreciate it's not just him, but as you're the captain, you're the guy that's going to lift the trophy at the end of the season if we win it. So if you're going to take all the applause, you got to take a lot of the blame and a lot of the critique that goes along with it. So
yeah. So we'll see, and we'll see what changes the manager makes with Saturday on the horizon. It's funny, it's a Saturday 3 p.m. kickoff. Don't remember the last time we had one of those, but yeah. So
been a while.
So yeah, been a while. So fingers crossed we can get back to winning ways. All right, should we look at some listeners' questions before we lock off then? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do so now. First question from Baitface Nate, shout him out. Odegaard may be crap, and his performances have shown that this season. But what do you guys make of Eze? Is the manager not getting the best out of him, or is he just not at the level that we need?
So with Eze, I think it's multifactorial. I did think I'm not sure he's a playmaker in the purest sense. I think he's a bit of a free spirit maverick where he can create, but it's not a high volume, high frequency, which is why I'm still of the belief he's better from the left. And, you just got to, if he's not as good defensively. I just think you've got enough of a good enough defensive structure where you can accommodate it more often than not, in my opinion. So he's very much a moments player, Eze. So you've seen him, some of his final actions, very, very good, fantastic at shooting, good execution of a pass in the final third as well. Martinelli pass against Man City. So he's had some good moments, he's had some good actions, but I do sometimes find he can go through the motions a bit during games where games do seem to pass him by a bit. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a low touch player because you can still be low touch, high impact. There's been loads of examples of that, but and I don't know if it's been a struggle of jumping from Palace where they had the lowest defensive line, loads of space to run into, joining Arsenal, highest defensive line, not as much space to run into. So that adjustment's probably different. Arteta's game model is probably different. So I don't think there's any one clear answer, but I think at times he could apply himself a bit better. He could force his personality a bit more on games, because we know you have with him, it's not a question of talent or ability. Like you saw against Spurs in that hat trick, you saw like he can do stuff. Even today in the second half, like he was just doing he was enjoying himself a bit more. It's more like force your will on the game. That's what I'd like to see a bit more with Eze. So I don't even think it's a manager thing, although I would like to see him more on the left, but I don't really think it's a manager thing. I think with him, it's more get more out of yourself, my guy. Do you know what I mean? It's not, you're not a kid, you're 27. So
yeah, I hear that, man. Like I said already, I think the last roll of the dice in terms of reviving Odegaard is playing Eze with him some more, because I think they can sort of fill in for where the other is weak. Odegaard finds himself coming to the ball, for better for worse, he finds himself coming to the ball deep and being a high touch, high volume passer. And Eze is more putting himself in the position along sort of the 10 spaces in order to execute. And there's value in both. I think when we have one, we lack the other in terms of, sometimes you say Eze wanting to impose his will on the game. In the same way you want Odegaard to be more of a final threat. So you think the two of them together can, help offset each other's weaknesses in that regard. But this is the business end of the season where Eze comes alive. So I'm expecting a lot from him, when the games get tight. As you can imagine, there's a lot of questions on Odegaard, which I'm going to skip over, only because I think
we've just spoken about him, so we don't really need to relitigate it. Yeah,
I will ask this though. There was a question regarding. Here we go. CXN WXY TV. What's the solution for this attack we've got, because it's looking dire? We haven't actually spoken about what changes we may want to make, so I am curious to know what you think about.
I think balance is important. I think sometimes it's great having a big squad now, but I actually think Arteta might be a bit confused for choice at times, like just because there's so many options. Like sometimes having too many options isn't always a good thing, and sometimes he's choosing unbalanced lineups. Like tonight it didn't really matter because Kairat are crap, and we would have beaten them with whatever we put out. But for example, I didn't know what he was trying to achieve against Man United, for example, with Saka, Trossard, and Jesus. I don't think the balance is there. If you had Gyökeres who can force them back, and then Trossard and Saka coming in, fine. But and then sometimes he's chosen Gyökeres, Martinelli, and Madueke, and that's just turnover central. If I look at what I think is balanced, for example, if Havertz was fully fit, he can come deep, running behind. Eze creator, Saka can create and stretch, or Madueke can create. It's more just about, looking at the profiles that you have and choosing that accordingly. Also, we could obviously do more. I definitely, just in terms of getting our players into better positions. So it's a combination of picking better profiles and making sure your players are in position to take advantage. I don't when people talk about Timber and Calafiori underlapping, I actually don't think it's a bad thing, because you're forcing people to react to you. But it's about the rotations. They shouldn't always be in that position. If they're making that run once or two times a game, but if the fullback's XG is higher than the attackers, then obviously something fundamentally is wrong. So it's a balance. Yeah,
I agree. I think the way he's picked his front three quite a lot this season has been odd to me. There are times when the technical security across the front three is super low. Like you're playing Martinelli, Gyökeres, and Madueke together, and you're intending to keep the ball high. It's just not going to happen. And at the same time, you got the washed version of Gabriel Jesus, along with Saka and Trossard. You're not really going to put much pressure on opposing centre backs. You're not going to destabilize them. You know, they're not going to have to worry much about what's going on behind, or even the space in front of them. So yeah, I think it's been interesting to see how he's viewed his lineups in that regard. And you would hope there's further adjustments. I think Havertz becoming a viable option definitely helps, because I think he kind of is a connector between those profiles. So, you know, hopefully you get a bit more, you get the ability to have the ball stick more centrally, but also have an option to stress defenders a little bit more. And then, yeah, in relation to the rotations, I think what I also mentioned before about the speed at which we move the ball, I think more than anything helps open up the space. Like you think of like the classic goals that City used to score with, you know, Sterling coming in at the back post or Son in the other. A lot of times, yeah, the ball circulation might start off slow from centre backs, but the way the speed of it will increase going from side to side, that is what causes the gaps to open up in, you know, across the full backs and the centre backs, because then you don't have the time to react. You know, they're worried about when the ball's moving quick. There's that subconscious thing where you get attracted to the ball, and that's when you lose your markers. That's what allows, you know, for your fullback to be in space in those areas instead of it just being a congested space like we're seeing now. And then also varying profiles, like we have someone like Ben White, who's more of an overlapping fullback than Timber. If you have a threat from out wide who's able to cross, it then again is another way of opening up the game for you. We're supposed to be a team that's adept with crossing, but if you see the statistics for completed crosses from our fullbacks, it's actually very poor. Right, Hincapié hasn't got a good completion. Even Calafiori hasn't got a good completion. You know, Timber's not got a good completion. So again, that is an area in which you think we'd be good at, but really not. So if you've got an overlapping fullback, especially on Saka's side, that then creates Saka a bit more space for him to operate on, you know, the inside. And then, you know, finally, central combinations. We keep stressing it more and more. If we have a 10 or an inverted, you know, left winger who's able to, you know, link with your central striker a bit more, I think it, you know, provides, you know, more chance creation opportunities. I want to see a lot of Eze left and Gyökeres center. We haven't seen a lot of that. I'm not saying Gyökeres is a redeemable person, but again, it helps Gyökeres if you've got a high technical floor player who's able to operate in those spaces, who can give him a slide rule pass here and there. Is he going to score? As a separate issue, but you know, it provides more opportunities.
One of the only games I remember seeing it as well, early on in the season, we beat Forest 3-0. We started with Eze, Gyökeres, and Madueke. And to my point about a balanced front line, right, where you have a technician out wide, you have a winger who wants to go direct 1v1, and a striker who can stretch. It's a balance of profiles that's important. If you remember in that game, Eze got the assist for Gyökeres' goal as well. Calafiori long ball over the top, Eze cut across, Gyökeres tapping into the net. So yeah, it's something I'd like to see just a bit more balance, But again, like I said, sometimes I feel like having too many options it can confuse, man, because I don't think he now knows what he wants to do. But I might be wrong. I might be well wrong on that. So we'll see.
The rest of the questions are just cooking Odegaard. Like, we get it. He's ass.
There's nothing else we can say, man. He's got to show himself, and he's got to improve. Only person that can do that is himself. But yeah, he's on fine. He's on like a tight piece of string for me. Like, you know, sometimes when you got to give someone rope to hang themselves. So yeah, that's kind of where he's at. And if he doesn't, I hope Arteta's man enough to make the call, because you need to run a meritocracy, man. And what I'm seeing from him, and it's also interesting. I am going to wait and see if I'll get a bigger sample size, but I do have a feeling I think he steps on Zubimendi's toes too often, and I feel like I saw a better version of Zubimendi when he wasn't in the team. But let me let that load before I
let him marinate a little bit more.
Let it marinate a bit more. Okay, cool. I think we'll leave it there. Listeners, thank you very much for joining. Khalil, thank you very much for joining us. Yeah, guys, we will be back. We got a TG dinner to strategize coming up. So yes, we'll be back with a lot of big stuff and new stuff afterwards. So thank you very much for joining me. Khalil, listeners, we'll catch you on the flip side post Leeds. Come on, you Gunners. Peace.
Peace.
Yo, when I spit bars in a rave, man, I go hard like Santan.